Hello everyone, Via here. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Universe Deluxe Class Overkill. So here he is in his dinosaur mode, but before we take a look at that, unlike the last few retro reviews that we've been doing here on the channel, I actually do have the packaging to show you here. So this is one of the special edition Universe toys, as you can see by the SE04, and these were a subset of Universe figures that came in these really cool looking black boxes. So you can see here it says Universe up there with some monochrome art of Overkill, an embossed Decepticon logo there. So it is actually textured, which looks really cool. And I don't know if you can see it, but the actual drawing of Overkill here is like glossy compared to the matte of the rest of the box. On the side here, we can see the other special editions. So we have Megatron and Dragstrip. And on the other side, we have Overkill, another Decepticon badge. On the top, nothing. On the bottom, just some stuff. On the back, we actually have some colored shots of what Overkill is going to look like, even though it looks like the blue on Overkill is a lot darker on this picture than it is on the toy, but that's fine. You can see it has the Collectors Club logo on there, so I guess this was made, in collaboration with this. TF Wiki has a whole list of information about how this figure came to be on their article on Overkill, so I definitely recommend going to check that out and reading through that, because it's pretty interesting how this figure came to be. And like the other Black Box Universe figures, it does have an opening flap here, so you can have the figure displayed in here, and it has the bio with his tech specs on the inside of the flap. So really, really cool box. I love these Universe black boxes, but the main reason that I went for this guy is because of the figure himself, because look at how gorgeous that looks. So if you don't know who Overkill is, Overkill was one of the Cassetticons in G1, so the cassette bots, who would be working for Soundwave or Sound Blaster, since he's a Decepticon. In this figure, he is represented by a repaint of the Classics Grimlock figure, which isn't the best toy, but it's pretty interesting. It's got some unique stuff going on. And in these colors, it pops for me. I don't know. I got this figure at a convention, and I found him by looking at the top shelf, and I saw the figure, and I was like, ooh, I wonder what that is. The seller brought him down to me, opened that flap, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm buying that. That is so pretty. So let's get in close on the head sculpt. You can see his main colors here are going to be this white plastic, this kind of dull-ish blue, and the clear, like, yellowy orange, which looks really, really cool. So it shows his eyes here done in that nice clear, a little bit on his head as well. Then you can see his arms there, his little dino arms. He also has some silver paint here on his legs. A little bit of his robot chest peeking out there too. And overall, just looking really nice. Some white and silver there on his feet. And all of his spines are done in the blue, so they all line up down the length of his tail, which is just very, very cool. He's got the cannon up here on top, which does fire a missile. Oh, there we go. So it's a clear yellow missile there. Just goes right in there on top. I've heard other people say that mostly Grimlock has a hair trigger on this. It doesn't really feel that sensitive to me. Feels pretty normal, but that could just be a me thing. I'm not sure. But it is cool. It has like a bayonet there. So yeah, pretty interesting looking robot or dinosaur mode. Again, these colors just pop for me. I don't know why. It works for me anyway. So this guy's becoming pretty standard here on this channel, but we're gonna put him next to a deluxe class Legacy Knockout, so we can see not a great comparison because he is a dinosaur, but just to give you a sense of how big he is. And he feels pretty big compared to modern deluxes, honestly. Like, he's pretty chunky, especially in this mode. Now, articulation wise, the head does move up and down. So it moves up and down, and the mouth opens as well. So it opens that far. He's got ball joints here at his arms, so these swivel around. Although I find, because of the way they're cut, his arms tend to look like they're going in like this. So he looks like kind of cute, I guess. Just funny to me. Hips don't really lock in, so that's a common issue with this mold, so be wary of that. But the hips do rotate all the way around, and they can move out to the side that far. There is a swivel right above the knee. It's got a bend at the knee there, and the feet can pivot up and down like that. And the tail's actually pretty cool. Tail has joints at all of these circles here, so 4 joints total. So a joint there, a joint there, a joint there, and a joint at the tip there. So you can get some really cool looking tail positions, oh, excuse me, with this tail because of how it's jointed, and it can curve really far, which is super interesting. I like that a lot about this figure. So now I'm going to get into his transformation, which is pretty simple, but also a little weird. So, oh, and also the gun is on a post here, so it can swivel if you want that. So we're going to remove his gun. This has to come off. You can't keep that on. We're also going to remove his tail. Yeah, it does parts form his tail, but it is what it is. Now you take this piece here and you fold it in like that. Put that off to the side. So this whole thing is going to become the robot. So first thing you want to do is just take his legs and extend these out on the double hinges, just to keep them out of the way. Next, we're going to take his, close that, flip the head forward, and then you can open the jaw all the way like that. These are going to be his feet. You want to come up here, and this is actually clipped in right there. So you want to unclip this, like this. Just pull on it, and it will start pulling out like this. Extend that down all the way, and then you can split these to form the legs. You want to make sure you bring those out all the way, and then you can just take his arms. I like to just put them behind his legs like that. Next, you want to take these panels here, just kind of bring these back. It's easiest to do this now. You kind of have the most clearance right now, so just bring those back. Now, for these, you just kind of take his head here, and this whole section will rotate. So this whole section will rotate around like that. And then you can take this whole section, rotate this. And that will let you take this whole front chest panel piece, rotate this around. Once you have everything lined up, it will just swing around, which will put the hinge on the other side like that. Now you can take this hinge, collapse it down onto the side, take this strut piece and flip this back onto his back. And then you can take this other shoulder, bring this around and collapse that in. And that will put his shoulders in place. No locking, unfortunately. That is the biggest issue with this mold. This is a thing on Grimlock too. It's not just Overkill. Take this piece and just kind of pull that back a little bit. You know, it's on a hinge. You can kind of do what you want with it. Now you take this panel here, swing that back, take these panels here, bring them down, and then you can take his claws here, and this extra hinge will bring them back onto the back of his arms, like that. And there you have Overkill in his robot mode. And again, in these colors, this robot mode just looks really cool. This robot design has never really screamed Grimlock to me, and it's even more evident when you take it out of those colors that this barely looks like a Grimlock. And Overkill never had a robot mode either, but just in these colors, I think this robot design looks really, really cool. So let's get in close on the head sculpt. Definitely a Grimlock head, but done in these colors. I think it just looks really nice with that nice yellow light piping there. You have some more of that clear yellow right there on the chest where this Decepticon logo is. And this is all done in just white paint with some of that blue as well for detail work. It just looks really, really nice. Some more blue there on his forearm, or on his upper arms. Unfortunately, we've got screws here on the front of his shoulders. That's they just kind of had to pick one. They were either going to be visible in robot mode or in dyno mode, and I guess they chose dyno mode. So that's how that is. His waist and his crotch look really nice with all that paint on there. Some of that dark blue for the thighs, which are really short. And they're kind of hard to see because they get covered up a lot by this kibble here, but you know, it's fine. Those stripes there from the spines. And of course, the dino head makes up his feet there. So there we have that. Now for his accessories, of course, he does have these two. So he has the gun, which we'll take a closer look at here, and that it's detached from him. Looking really nice, and again has the firing missile. He can hold that in his hand like that. And his other accessory is the tail, which you can play pretend is like a whip of some sorts because of all the joints. Or if you want to straighten it out, you can maybe say it's a sword. Either way, it has this post here, which sits at an angle, and you can just have him holding that as well. And honestly, that looks pretty cool. I don't think that's bad at all. So I'm going to remove these here so we can do articulation. So his head is on a swivel. Swivels left and right. You do got to be careful and make sure you hold on to this because this piece will try to swivel with it. None of this stuff locks in. That's the biggest issue with this mold. This joint here doesn't lock in. These shoulders don't lock in at all, either one. This whole collar section also doesn't lock in. And it's just flaws with the mold that Grimlock had them as well, where it's just none of the points that were supposed to be locking points actually work. So he just feels a little squishy to handle sometimes. It doesn't help that the hips on mine are really loose. His shoulders, his arms have the same articulation as his beast mode legs. So arms rotate, they move in and out. There is a bicep swivel, bend at the elbow for 90 degrees of motion. This you could count as a waist swivel. It's a little high, but if you want to use it like that, you can. Hips are on ball joints, although again they're pretty loose on mine, but you know, ball joints. He does have a thigh swivel cut below that. His knees bend basically 90 degrees, although they look kind of weird because again, just how all of this is sculpted for the dinosaur mode. You can see there is his leg sculpted on the inside there. And it just has a whole bunch of dinosaur kibble around it. And his feet, this is as far up as they go, but they do move down as well. So, and then his heels, because they're separate on hinges, they can move as well if you need that for a pose. So we'll give him his accessories back here, and then we'll do our comparison. And he has all right articulation for a figure of the day. You know, this is it's a classics / universe figure, so his articulation isn't going to be that great compared to a modern figure, but I think it's serviceable and you can get some decent poses with him. Now, we'll bring Knockout back in as our comparison. You can see not as tall as a Grimlock should be, but I mean, he is taller than a modern deluxe, at least by a little bit. So, and I believe, as far as I know, this is the only other version of Overkill, like the only modern version of him that you can get. I know I said that for in the Big Daddy video, and I was wrong. Sorry about that. It is what it is. But I believe, if I'm wrong again about this one, I'll put it up on screen just like last time. But I believe this is the only modern version of Overkill that you can buy officially. So, yeah. If you want an Overkill with a robot mode, here you go. Or if you just want a really cool dinosaur to represent Overkill, he works as well in that modern display. So I think that does it for this video on Universe Overkill. This figure, honestly, isn't that great of a toy. Playing with him isn't that fun. The transformation is okay, but because nothing really locks in, the hips don't lock in dinosaur mode, and nothing really locks in the robot mode, it's just a little bit of a pain to deal with, not a super fun figure to mess with in either mode, even though the transformation is pretty cool. But just looks-wise, this particular version, Overkill, is really, really cool, in my opinion. If you're buying this figure, you're doing it for the same reason I did, which is complete looks alone. The figure just looks fantastic. So if you like how he looks, I would recommend him, but it's solely on aesthetic. Engineering wise, I think this one's an easy skip, but I think that is going to do it for the video. Leave me a like and a comment letting me know if you want me to take a look at maybe some of the other Black Box Universe figures. That would be pretty cool. In the description, I have a link to my Instagram if you want to see some photography and other things like that. But that's it. I've been Anovia. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.